What's good, everybody? It's AJ here again, and welcome to my first tutorial on problem solving. And this is geared mostly towards computer science, and this series is intended to make you think like a computer programmer and teach you how to solve problems that you can see will sometimes come up in computer science and can help you also with interview questions. So today, this first tutorial is going to focus on brain teasers. And brain teasers are basically questions that make you think and make you think of how a problem works, and you may have to think of a different way to look at a single problem. Now, before I get into an example problem, I want to talk to you guys about ways to solve problems. And basically, there are a lot of problems. There are problems where you have to think, problems where you just use math, conceptual problems, and real-life problems. But I want to talk about the ways to approach a problem. And one way is the worst-case scenario. So you want to think of worst-case minimization. And in worst-case minimization, you want to think about what is the thing that can go wrong, and how do you stop that, and how can you prevent that from happening. A classic problem of this goes like this. Let's say you have 9 balls, and one of them is heavier than the other. The others are all the same weight. And you have to figure out which one is a different weight, but you only get 2 uses of a scale, and this scale is a weighing scale. So for instance, it's like you put things on it and you weigh it, and you get to see if they're equal or not based on if they're level or not level, and you can tell. So you basically can tell which side is heavier, equal to, or less than, but you don't know the actual weight. But you only have 2 uses of this scale. So instead of starting with 9 balls and figuring out how to do it with 9 balls, you may want to think of it, you want to minimize the problem. So let's say we only start out with 3 balls. How would we figure out which one is the odd ball if we were just doing 3 balls? Well, one way we could do that, if you think about this, would be pretty easy to think about, is with your scale. You choose 2 of them, this one and this one, for instance, and weigh them. If they're equal, you know it's the 3rd ball. If one of them is greater than the other, you don't know which one. You don't know which one is the other one. You do not know if that one is correctly greater than you. Oh wait, you do, because I did say they were greater than. So yes, so you do know that. So based on one way, you know that the greater one is different because you know the other one will weigh the same amount because you're looking for the one that's heavier. So that's how you would figure out. If you see one, if with 3, if you see one that's greater than the other, then you know it's 1, for example, if 1 was greater than 2. Now, since you know how to do it with 3, now you can kind of think about how to do it with, for example, 9. Now, let's say you divided it into groups of 3. You can think of it that way. So if I divided each of the balls, each of the 9 balls into groups of 3, I could then do a similar problem that I just did with the 3 balls, except now they're in groups of 3. But I can similarly make the problem easier. So now that I've got 3 sets of 3 balls instead of 3 sets of 1 ball, I can do a very similar thing. I can put 1 set on the scale against another set. And since I have 2 scales, since I have 2 ways, now what I can do is, if these are equal to each other, that tells me that all these balls are equal and that the last, the biggest ball is in the 3rd set. And I already knew from since I've got it down to 3 now, I know I can find the heavier ball with 1 weigh. So when I do that, if I have those 3, then I can just apply what I did for the minimization problem, where I simplified it and see it, and then just weigh those 3 and figure it out in 1 way. And then if I weigh the others and one is greater than the other, I know that the heavier ball is in that set of 3, and then again I can figure that out in one way. And so depending on which one is heavier, you can just do the same thing for those two. So no matter what happens, you will finish with the heaviest ball. And see, I started it out not by thinking about how to do it with 9 balls. I thought of how to do it with 3 balls, and then saw that there was a relationship that as you went up, since it was still a multiple of 3, I could still do that, and I could still create a scenario where I use the same logic for a simple 3-ball question as opposed to a 9-ball question. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this first tutorial, and I hope you guys have a great day.